All right, everyone, welcome. And so we are going to take a look at your assignment writing a CLO for class. So take a look at that assignment, everyone. It says you must watch this video to complete this assignment. So if you're here, thank you for being here because you need to go through step by step with me on what a CLO is and how to write it and what to get the assignment done. Okay. So your objective for this assignment, students will understand how to write clear and meaningful CLOs by the end of this lesson, focus on both content and language forms. So today we're going to learn about something very important called a course learning outcome, or a CLO for short. CLO is a clear statement that tells us what you will be able to say, write, or do by the end of the lesson or course. Think of it as a goal or target that helps guide your learning. So CLOs are posted in a lot of your assignments, and it's normally done by your teacher. And basically what it does is it goes through basically what you need to know by the end of that lesson. And it's basically will be, most of them will be worded like students will be able to blah, blah, blah. And most of your teachers put this in their assignments. I don't know if you even notice it, but this is something that we have to put there. And ownership for you as a student in your classes, teachers are starting to have students come up with the lesson CLO on their own so that you can basically understand the content a little bit more in depth. So we're going to go through an assignment today, walking you through what are the components of a CLO and how to write one, okay? You're going to be using this pretty much throughout the rest of the school year. So let's get started. So there's a attached sheet that you need to make a copy of. It looks like this. So basically, the first part is just what I already read to you. All right. So for example, if you take a science lesson about light, okay, a CLO might be students be able to explain how sound energy travels through water using language of cause and effect, when causes which makes. So this basically tells you what you're able to do after the lesson. So this is what a CLO does. All right. Essentially, a CLO is a proficient response of what you want your audience to be able to say, write, or do by the end of the lesson. So that's what the CLO is. So let's go through what parts make up a CLO. Okay. So here is an example, another example of a CLO, and let's look at the parts here. This CLO says students will be able to explain how they solved a two-step story problem by using language of sequence, first, then, after, in the end. So the three main parts of a CLO are the what's in orange, which is called your language function. The part in blue is your content. What is the lesson actually about? What are you learning? And then the purple part is called the language form. So the content part is probably pretty self-explanatory. What you may be a bit we walk you through in more detail is what the orange language function and the purple language form. What are those things and how to get what you need for your CLO? So let's get started. You are going to fill out this form on your own. I'm going to do several examples with you as we go through, just to give you some examples. Today, I don't want it to be science related. If you want to do a science related one, that's fine. This is just, I want you to just write a CLO on something that you know about, that you can write a CLO about. So you may choose anything for this assignment. It does not have to be about marine biology or earth science or whatever class this is currently being discussed in. So choose a lesson, a topic, or a skill. So go ahead and think about that. You may want to pause the video. I'm going to go through and do three examples for you. So the first example I'm going to do is um, social media. I'm going to explain what social media is to someone. So I'm going to say my topical skill is social media. So I'm going to write that in, type that in. All right. I know I got this lines in. You may have to just delete some of the lines. That's fine. All right. All right. So that is my topic, the social media. Try to pick something that maybe that's what you know, obviously. So that is my topic. All right. Next part is we're going to look what the language function is. Okay. So the language function is you must choose what language function you want for your CLO. Here is what language function is. When you go through your topic, okay, are you going to be able, do you want your student to be, or do you want to be able to, you are the student, do you want to be able to explain or describe that topic? Do you want to compare or contrast that topic? Do you want it to be a cause and effect scenario? Are you trying to persuade about the topic, or do you need a sequence? Sequence meaning how to do things in order. So that is basically what your language function is. So to decide which one to choose, think about the steps on how you want your student to show how they understand. Okay. So for example, all CLOs start with students will be able to, and then the language function comes next. So do you want them to be able to explain? Students will be able to explain, blah, 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 blah. Students will be able to compare and contrast, whatever the next thing is. Students will be able to persuade, blah, blah, blah. Students will be able to sequence that. So on social media, I want to be able, my students at the end, to explain what social media is to me. So I'm going to use explain for this particular one, this example I'm doing now. So choose your language function. I'm going to type in explain. That's what I want them to be able to do. That's what they're going to be doing. All right. So the next part is, what is the language form? So language form is how they are going to complete the task. Now that they are explaining, what are they using to explain? How are they explaining this? So that's what the language form is. Possible language forms, you only choose one. These are some ones. They can use topic-specific vocabulary, meaning that the vocabulary that's for the actual topic, okay? They can use language of cause and effect, means they can say things like effects, if, then, since, when, due to, causes. So things like that. You want them to use those key words to explain what's going on. Conjunctions is going to be like although, even if, because, whereas. That means that when they are going through and telling you what's happening with that topic, they are using words like that, okay? Or they can use language of discourse. And this means that they're paraphrasing the topic. They're building on challenging ideas or asking for evidence, etc. So if I am explaining something, which is what I'm doing for social media, the best form for me is, I want to use, for this one, I'm going to use topic-specific vocabulary, meaning that I'm going to make sure that the students, when they're explaining social media, they include key terms that define social media. So I'm going to say, for me, I'm going to use topic-specific for this one. And I'm going to actually include some of that vocabulary in it. So let's think about social media. What's some things that, some terms that are included in social media, maybe like algorithm. That's one. I hope that's spelled correctly. Algorithm, that's one. An influencer, that's a big, a big term in social media. Maybe hashtags. That's something that's big in social media. Viral. Somebody goes viral. And then if there are more that they are going to learn in your actual lesson when you teach them to them, then they put etc., which means they will be using more, but that's just some. Okay. So I just basically gave you some of them, but they will be using more. So now I have the three parts. So I can now successfully write my actual CLO. So my first thing, again, let's go through it. My topic, that the skill or the topic or skill that I'm going to, the content of my lesson is going to be social media. And when we get through the actual content for our science class, I will give you something like an objective or something like that you'll be using. But for this, it's just going to be social media. That's my example. My function I'm going to be using, my language function is going to be, they're going to be explaining it. And when they explain it, they're going to be using topic-specific vocabulary like algorithm, influence, hashtags, viral, etc. So now I can put all these parts together for my CLO. So it says students will be able to, language form comes first. So let me go find my language form. I can basically copy that out and I can paste it right into my sentence. Be able to explain. All right. And the next part is going to be content. So that I can go copy that again, or I can just type it out. It's very simple to remember social media, but I'm going to copy that. You can do copy and paste because this is your idea that you're typing, just transferring it down to a certain place. Explain social media by using my language form. And that's going to be, again, topic specific vocabulary and with my examples of that. Copy. I'm going to paste that there. So my actual CLO states, students will be able to explain social media by using topic-specific vocabulary such as algorithm, spelled not correctly there, algorithm, influencer, hashtags, viral, etc. That is my CLO for my lesson I would teach on social media. Awesome example. So that's one example. Let's go through another one. So that one was just going on a topic and you explaining things about that topic. Let me delete this out and let's do another one. All right, so I'm gonna go delete these and I'm gonna do another one here. All right, let me choose another topic here. What about if I chose the topic of a skill, how to tie your shoes? All right, that's my topic or skill. So I now need to figure out what language function goes with that. And think about tying your shoes. It's like a step-by-step process, right? So probably a great example for that I could use for language function would be sequence. Sequence is like how to order something. So I'm going to use sequence. That's great with how to tie your shoes. Again, depends on what you're teaching and what you're trying to instruct or what you're going to be learning. Is it changes. So not everything's exactly the same, right? So that will be a sequence because I'm trying to walk you through how to do something. So that's sequence. Language form. If I go into language forms, there's a couple of ones that we can use here. One of them could be maybe cause and effect, like when I'm doing this and this happens, then you do this next and so forth, or even conjunctions. One of those two will make sense, okay? So for this one, I'm going to use cause and effect, language of cause effect. All right. Sometimes two makes sense. Just choose one of them. You don't have to use both. So language of cause effect, and give some examples of what they're going to be using. Things like if, then, maybe, let's see what else. Since, like when you do this, things like that. All right. And then if you run out of words and there are more, just give a few, etc. All right. Lastly, what's your form? Lastly, we got the form. Lastly, we're going to place all that together. So same thing we did in the last one. Students will be able to, what's my language function? Go back and figure that. Sequence. Okay. So students will be able to sequence. All right. And what is the next thing is the actual content. Sequence. How to tie your shoes by using, I left that was before, by using language of cause and effect, and some examples of that. All right, and that is my CLO for how to tie your shoes. Students will be able to sequence how to tie your shoes by using language of cause and effect, such as if, then, since, when, etc. Okay, now that's another example. Do one last one for you, and then you get to choose your own topic and go through these steps on your own. Let me delete all these out here. Delete out my topic here. All right, here we go. So let's look at something else. Let's choose a topic. Last topic I'm going to choose. Let's look at Xbox or Nintendo. That's my topic. Like, which one is the best? So Xbox or Nintendo. All right, that's my topic. So going back over here, what's my language function? So if I'm taking two and I'm comparing there, I'm trying to see which one is best. That's like compare and contrast. Like this one does this one doesn't. So this one's going to be the language function of compare and contrast. So students will be able to, language function for this is going to be compare and contrast. All right. And what form does that have? All right. So how are you going to complete this task? Going through, probably compare and contrast. I can use probably conjunctions, probably makes sense because I can say, although Xbox does this, even if this, because, whereas the Nintendo, so conjunctions probably sounds good for that. So I'm going to use conjunctions and think about what are some conjunctions here. You can use the, definitely use the ones I have though, up there. Or you can come up with your own if you go look some up. So Google some. And then there, of course, there probably is going to be more that you use when you explain, so etc. Then lastly, put all these together. So my language function, go grab that, compare and contrast to write my actual CLO. So students be able to compare and contrast my topic, Xbox or Nintendo, by using conjunctions and the examples of that. And that's that. So my now CLO for this one is students be able to compare and contrast Xbox or Nintendo by using conjunctions, using the conjunctions to make a more precise sentence, although even if, because, the. So I would say the. All right, and that's it. So this is all that you're doing is you're finding you're telling what the content is. What are you actually learning about, or what what do you what is the lesson going to be about? Okay, that can sometimes be a topic or skill, an objective, which in the most actual science content would be an actual objective. And then you're going to say, now that this is what I am learning about, by the end, what do you want to be able to do? Do I want to be able to explain what language function? Am I going to be explaining that? Am I going to be comparing it? Am I going to be doing those different functions? All right, persuading you or sequencing it. Then last but not least, when I'm doing those things, what am I using? So if I'm using topic-specific vocabulary, meaning that if I'm going through and I am explaining something to you, more than likely there is there are words that need to be used to explain that, and that's your topic specific vocabulary, because it is related directly to that what I'm explaining. The cause and effect means that how you explain it, you're going to leave like, if this happens, then this, since this does this, then when that happens, so forth. Or is it conjunctions, meaning that although this happens, even if, because, whereas, or if it's a language of discourse, I mean, you're paraphrasing or you're building on or challenging ideas, or you're asking for evidence. So that's what language of discourse is. So I gave you 3 examples. So what I want everyone to do now is on your sheet, can't use my examples. I want you to come up with your content. So what do you want to have someone learn, explain? So try to choose a topic that you understand. Don't choose nothing that way out of left field that you don't even understand yourself. So choose a topic or a skill or a subject, something like that. Then next, look and see how you want to get that topic over. Are you going to be explaining, comparing, contrast, cause and effect, persuading, or sequencing that? And then next, decide what form of language are you using, and add that. And then piece all that together into your CLO at the end, okay? That is basically how you do write a CLO. Your next step is going to be able to take your CLO and communicate it to your fellow classmates, and y'all will have a short discussion on each other's CLOs and how well you did. So let me know if you have any questions or concern about how to write CLOs. I don't expect you to be an expert in this at first, but I need you to kind of understand what it is and what we use it for in our lessons, okay? So that you can start understanding and putting together it on your own to greater understand the content that you're being taught or led to in that particular area or unit that we're covering. All right, everyone, I will see you later.